Yo, what's going on? It is 1 p.m. here in Crystal Lake, Illinois. That means it's time for another live stream. Today is Monday, May 13th, 2024. Guys, I just got back from Seattle yesterday on Mother's Day. To all the mothers out there, hope you had a good Mother's Day. But I was out there to run Tiger Claw 50K. I guess we will do an unboxing because this is what you get for when you when you finish. It felt like I win. When you finish Tiger Claw, I haven't taken a look at it yet. We'll take a look at it together. But first, let's say hi to everyone listening on the audio-only version on the podcast. Hopefully, you guys are having a beautiful day out there. The weather right now in Crystal Lake is amazing. Kind of makes me want to go for a run, but my legs are telling me very much, no, today's not the day. There'll be time for that later in the week, where I have another adventure planned for later this week. So we won't have a lot of live streams this week. I think we'll only have two. I think we're only going to have today and tomorrow, because there's another trip coming. We'll get into that a little bit more. But first, let's also say hi to everyone listening and watching this later, but not live. You LBNLs, I love you guys. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you are doing while you're watching this. I have a feeling generally everyone I talk to, it's background noise, which I think is a completely fine thing to do. But I also feel like background noise while what are you doing? I think a lot of people are cleaning up at the end of the day. Maybe you're using it to help you fall asleep. I've been told that my voice puts people to sleep. But either way, I appreciate the view, you guys. All right, let's see who we got in the chat. Daniel Burton says, took fifth in my age group in a 5K Saturday, very hilly course. Awesome. What's the sound we need for that? Yeah, we need some applause for that one. Great job. And let's see, who else do we have here in the chat? Richard Willis wants to know, did I see any bears? No, I did not see any bears, but on the last loop, so you run out to the area where there's the 3 loops, and then you run back. The third time I came back down, and I was about to finish the rest of the race, it's like another 3 miles from there, they did warn me that there had been some bears sighted along the route back to the finish line. And I was like, oh, so this is the final boss. You have to run this crazy course, and then you have to fight a bear at the end if you want to get your finisher swag. I was like, challenge accepted. But I didn't see the bear. I saw none. Which makes me think, all this bear talk always just seems to be something to scare the non-locals. I don't know. Were there even any bears? Who's to say? CS says, congrats on Tiger Claw. I've done some training on the cable line there, and the entire trail system is so brutal. Goodness, that race was so hard. It was relentless. You know, like I've been on routes that are steeper. I've been on runs that are longer. I mean, not longer than 50K, but I felt like I've been on inclines that are longer, but it was just like that intersection of steep and unbraking. It just kept going. So it was really hard. It was really hard. Oh, man. I don't even remember which one was cable line. Was that the really hard one? I don't know. They were all so hard. Elisa wants to know, hi, Co-Fam, hope everyone is well. I'm looking forward to hearing Co talk about the race and what he ate. I brought a lot of, I did not plan well for this race. And so I think I told you guys this. I didn't, I was planning on putting in a big order at the feed and having all my favorite snacks. Because in the instructions for the race, they're saying like, there's some stuff at the aid stations. It's like typical ultra, aid station stuff. But like, because it's harder to get to some of these places, be prepared to be as self-sufficient as possible. So I was like, I'll try to hopefully I could eat some chips or something salty, but in terms of like bars and other calories, I'll try to bring on my own. So it was just a hodgepodge of all the things I haven't finished yet that I could find here from stuff we've unboxed. So I had a lot of Science and Sport gels. I had a whole bunch of Honey Stinger Stroop waffles. And then I also had a Martin bar, but I didn't eat the Martin bar. I thought I had brought it to eat, but I didn't get out of my drop bag. So, but then also what I had was at the aid stations though, I had basically potato chips and watermelon. That's it. Those are the things that I ate. Those are the only things. Like there was some pickles there. I didn't really feel like eating a pickle. I had tailwind, so I felt like I had plenty of salt in my fluids. So I felt pretty good about not needing too much salt. But then when I finished the race, my clothes were like, you know how when you sweat a lot and it's salty sweat, you get that like that line, like the high water mark line, but it's salt. I had a lot of salt on my clothes afterwards. So I guess that means that maybe I was a salty sweat, but I feel like I was able to replenish plenty. All right. Sean Devlin says, hey, Kofuzi Run Club. No running, just pelotoning this morning. I'm looking forward to hearing all about Tiger Claw. Yeah. So the results just went up. Like, I don't know if it was yesterday or I saw it today because I didn't check. I don't think I checked my email at all yesterday, which was nice. But I finished squarely in the middle of the pack. I finished like 48th out of like 98 finishers. And I feel really good about that. I thought that I was one of the last finishers. I stuck around for quite a bit after the race, basically because I didn't want to walk anywhere. So I just sat down and found some shade, and I watched a couple of other runners come in. And there was a handful, but not a ton. So I felt like, as I was running, I was alone a lot of the time, which I didn't bring any music either. So there was a lot of time alone with my thoughts. A lot of time to curse at Ethan under my breath. Why is this so freaking hard? That kind of thing. But I thought that I was one of the. I thought that I wasn't even going to make the cutoffs. I finished the race. I finished it just under 8 hours, and then which is a long time for a 50K. If you think about it, that was a long time. It was a long time to be out there. And I finished the race. I'm like, did I beat the cutoffs? He's like, yeah, you have plenty of time. He's like, well, the cutoffs are 8 hours, so you just made it. And I was like, oh, is it that close? And he's like, no. You have like 10-ish hours. He's like, we're not super tight on it. I'm like, oh, okay. For some reason, I thought it was maybe 9 or 10. I don't know, but I was worried about not hitting the cutoffs yesterday. But I was okay. I did it. It was so hard. All right. Daniel Estrella says, I ran my first 10K race yesterday, and I guess set my PB as well. You sure did. Finished at 38:46, and it was hard, but felt great after. That's racing. That's a great way to put racing. And I'm glad that you got that 10K done. Congratulations, Daniel. Pegasus is here. He says, hey, yo, Kofuzi. What's going on, Pegasus? D0 Aperture is here as well. And Eliza says, Tiger Gifts. Yeah, let's take a look at this. I almost started opening it because I was on another call earlier today, and I was just sitting here, and I was like, oh, what's this? Let's open it. But I wanted to do it with you guys. Ooh, this is nice. Look at that. It says Tiger Claw. Ooh, and it's got the I absolutely love this logo. The Tiger Claw logo. I'm obsessed with this logo. It's so beautiful. And this is very cool. I love this thing. The people that placed, I don't know if it's this exact art, but they got posters for winning. And I saw some of the art, and it looked kind of like this. I feel like this looks better as it's nice that it's wearable art. That's like usable art is kind of that I tend to like the most. Useful art. But this would also be a really nice poster. I would hang that up. But yeah, super fun. Lalo P says, yo, congratulations on your 50K. The elevation game was crazy. It was crazy. I knew it was going to be a lot, 8,800. Like I knew that going in. But then when I finished the second loop and I had already gotten like 6,000 feet on the day or like 5,500 feet on the day, I was like, wait, there's still 3,000 more feet of elevation gain. How am I even do? I'm like, oh my goodness, there's so much. After I finished 20 miles at 5 hours. And I was like, there's still so much of this race left. I mean, you get your money's worth, I guess. You can do that race. And then afterwards, I was like, oh, I got to rethink all these other ultra goals that I've had. I don't have many. The ultra goal that I have is to run a 100K at some point. And I'm like, I cannot do twice that. That is not, I'm like, I mean, I guess I probably could have gone a little farther, like if I had to on the day. I felt like I finished pretty strong, but I also knew like the race was ending, so I'm like, all right, it's almost over. Let's just keep pushing. But it's nice that I felt like I could push all the way through to the end. And but like I just can't imagine doing twice that distance. So as like not as soon as I got back to the hotel, but shortly after I got back to the hotel, I was like, all right, Black Canyon 100K. What's the elevation gain on that race? Because I'm like, if it's like double this, there's no way I can do it. But I think it's not. It's I think it's a little bit more than this. It's like is it 11? Can you guys check for me? What is the elevation gain on that? It's more than it would be than I got in the Tiger Claw in the 50K, but it's spread out over 100K. So maybe it's doable, but it's still just a long time to be on feet. Man. Terry Furlong, most important question of the evening. Did you have fun? I had a lot of fun out there. I had so much fun out there. The downhill portion was really fun. A little bit too steep to really fully send it each time, but I tried to send it. Sage and Sandy, we had a very brief discussion about it before I ran it, and they were like, number one, have fun, and number two, don't bomb the first downhill. Save something for later. And I was like, message received. And so the second time I went down the hill, I sent it. And by the time I was at the bottom, I was like, I had a lot of fun, but I think I made a big mistake. Yeah. So I did have a lot of fun though. Sacred Dreamcast wants to know, congrats on the finish. How are the quads and calves feeling today? My calves feel fine. I don't have any problem in my calves. All my problems are in the upper legs. I got some mosquito bites or something. I don't know if I got those. I think I got those yesterday. I was sitting outside with the kids. But my legs are itchy right now. But everything's in my quads and in my glutes. Not so much the hamstrings, but all over the quads. And even into the, what are these, abductors, adductors? Your inner thigh muscles. Well, that really hurts. And that I'm like, oh, this doesn't usually get sore after a marathon. You know, so. Courtney Webb says, I work from home on the computer and I watch you on half of my third monitor. Oh, there we go. I only get a half, Courtney. But I guess if you have 3 monitors, you got a lot of stuff going on. So, you know. And Sean Devlin wants to know, how did the Thundercross work out? I just bought a pair the other day for $95 at REI. Good deal. That is a good deal. I really enjoyed having the Thundercross. I felt like they're kind of like, it's kind of like running in like a giant, it's like a bucket seat. You know, like the shoe really cups your foot in a way that I liked. I think the only time I didn't love them was when I was going faster downhill. That's where I felt like some of the kind of like, it's a little bit looser of a shoe, which is uncharacteristic for a Solomon. So it's not like the most Solomon of trail shoes, but it was like, it's just like I think they could probably have called it like a Sense Ride Max or something like that. And like that's kind of how it makes sense to me, where it's just like kind of like Sense Ride, but just like everything's like a bit bigger, a little bit looser on it, which was great. 6, 7, 8 hours into the run. But I had a lot of fun with it. And I felt like that was a great shoe to have. There were times where towards the end of the race, and like when I'm into like hour 7 of the race, I started, there's a lot of like there's a lot of rocks on that trail. And I just felt like these rocks are starting to hurt my feet. But at 7 hours, I don't think there's a rock plate in that, but even if there were, I think I still would have been bothered by some of those. But otherwise, I think it was really good. I also brought the Tomir 2.0. I brought that as my like wear it around shoe. And I think I would have been equally as happy, if not happier, if I'd switched and just worn the Thundercross casually and then ran in the Tomir. I feel like that also would have been a really great shoe to run in for the day. And Richard Wilson says, how was the coming downhill? Was it runnable? For me, there were parts where I could kind of like really ride and it was fun. And I felt like, oh, I'm using my hamstrings. This is nice. But then there was a lot of parts where I was just kind of like heel braking and then running, and so that was a little bit harder because that's much more hard on the quads. But there were some people that they were going fast down the downhill, and I was super impressed. I'm like, how are you doing that? Yeah. So, runnable, pretty runnable, but it's not like, it wasn't like a full on roller coaster where it's just like, I'm riding it down. There was a little bit of work to the downhill too sometimes. Benjamin David said, you should have worn the Evo 1 to set off mass confusion and hysteria. I think people would have been really mad about that, but no one would have been more mad about it than me. Because that would have been pretty uncomfortable after a while. That shoe is, I've said that the Evo 1 is a great half marathon shoe for normal people. I think you got to be I feel like you need to have a little bit stronger mechanics than I do to be able to run a marathon in it, or to get a benefit of running a marathon in it. And then running on the trails would not have been great. I did really want to run in the Speed Agravic Ultra, but I was just so worried every time I've worn that shoe, it kind of rubs my arches. And I was like, over 8 or 9 hours, that's going to turn into giant blisters. And I feel like I would have really liked it on the downhills. I think I really would have worked on the downhills. But I also feel like my feet would be wrecked today if I wore that one. So I don't know. I'll keep running in that shoe to see if that could break that in. Because a lot of times when arch rubbing happens for me in a shoe, I just need to wear it a couple times, and then the arch will kind of like get bent or molded to shape, So we'll see. We'll see if I end up loving that shoe, but I don't know. So far, it's not one that I can wear I don't think I could wear it for a really long time. And Sarah Neograt says, congratulations, great result. You must be very proud. I'm very proud of it. There was a part on that race, and I guess I'm spoiling the video, but the video is probably not going to come out for like another week. I got a backlog, but I did a lot of it on a 360 camera, so that just adds another step, and that makes things take long. But yeah, I'm very proud of the result, especially because there's a portion of the race where I'm at mile like 23, 24, and I'm like halfway up the mountain, and I'm like, I really just want to sit on this log over here for a second, but I knew if I sat down, I wouldn't get back up. And so I just kind of stood there and stared at the log for a second, and I was like, I want to sit. I'm also like halfway up and halfway down. So like, it's going to be hard. It's going to take a long time. I was like, it's going to take me another hour to get to the top, and it'll take me a long time to get to the bottom if I stop now. So I might as well just finish it. But I was struggling there. I really just didn't want to finish the rest of the race at that point. But I'm like, there is no way to step off this course. Nate Krail says, I also ran a 50K trail mountain race on Saturday, and I ran an hour faster than last year. That's amazing. Great job. And Alf Dickinson says, good job, Co. at Tiger Claw and Evening All. PB'd by a minute at the Rob Burrows Leeds Marathon yesterday. It says, it was hilly, but probably nothing compared to your 50K at Tiger Claw antics. Yeah, but you're trying to run a different speed than I'm trying to run at Tiger Claw. So like a hilly marathon is, what's hilly for a marathon is different than what's hilly for a trail race, And Hillary Thornton says, humble brag, first 10K in 38:46. Rocked it. Way to go. Nice. Wow. 38:46. That's super fast. Yeah, I don't think I can run a 10K that fast. That's fast. Eliza says, how the quads feeling? Are they trash? Did that make the plane ride home tough? The quads are pretty trash. They're worse today than they were yesterday for sure. I'm having a hard time today getting up and down the stairs. The plane ride wasn't so bad. I just watched. I should have done work, but I just ended up watching Peaky Blinders the whole time because I'm like, I'm almost done with this show. I'd like to finish it. I was like, and I don't really feel like working, so I'm just gonna watch Peaky Blinders the whole time. So that was fine. And then the plane ride was good. I felt worse getting up, and maybe it's because the drive home was after the plane ride, but like it's about an hour drive back. That after I got out of the car after that hour, then my legs really started to bother me. I was like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That was hard. That was tough. Fiona 1977 says, I tried to follow your progress for London Marathon, but you didn't show up on the app. I only saw your time once I saw a photo you posted with your bib number. Yeah, so what happened was I don't know why, but like, I don't know why races ask for your first, middle, and last name. It seems silly. But for this race, you know what? They did it. It happened to me in Tokyo too. They put my middle name and my last name together as if it was one name, like a hyphenated name, like L. Purrier St. Pierre. They did that with my middle name and my last name. And so if you search for my middle name and last name, you could find me. But that's only if you knew my middle name. And so that's why no one could find me until they saw my bib number. I thought I had put my bib number in my flat lay. Sorry, I just heard clicking. I was like, where's that clicking coming from? Is that my jaw? I think it's my jaw is clicking. That's not good. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. Yeah, so that's why you couldn't. That's why people couldn't. A lot of people said that they couldn't find me. But I was talking with Lindsay Hine this morning, and she's like, "You didn't buy a bib from someone else, did you?" I'm like, "No, Lindsay, don't worry. I didn't buy a bib from someone else. They just put my middle name as part of my last name, and so I didn't show up." And I'm guessing maybe for privacy reasons, it's not like a what do they call it? A flexible Boolean search. Like if you don't get it exactly right, it doesn't give it to you, kind of thing. Daniel Burton wants to know how much hiking you do. A lot. I tried to hike up all the uphills. Anytime that there was any kind of grade, I tried to hike because I'm like, this is gonna be a long day. And I'm not trying to be a cowboy out here. So I'm going to hike everything. I mean, I hiked within the first 3 miles because there was this little uphill part. And I was like, nope, that's the rule of the day. My original plan was to start the race walking. But no one else did that. Everyone's kind of ran out of the gate. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll just kind of stay with the group a little bit. But my whole point was to try to chill. And even then, the third time you go up the loop, it's different loops each time, but the third time you go up the mountain, I was like, ooh, I pushed it too hard on the second loop. Because even some of these climbs that I could maybe attack a little bit more aggressively, I'm like, I don't think I can. Jason M. Tang says, I'm curious, how does the training differ for something like 50K versus the road stuff that we're used to? I don't really know because I didn't exactly train for this 50K. And I'm sure that my coaches would have given me something different if I had given them enough time. But like this was, how long ago was London? So there wasn't enough time for me to really put in any training. But what they did kind of say is like, hey, if you can find some routes with some sustained climbs just to get your legs acclimated to it. You're fit, but like, your legs aren't acclimated to climbing. That would be good. Or if not that, get on the stair climber or Stairmaster. So I did that because I had one available to me. There's a couple at the YMCA gym that I'm a member of. So I did that one day. So not a lot of great training. And then all the days that I could run in between London and now, when I was home, that I just did trail runs. So I was getting maybe like 800 feet per 10 miles, which is again, not a lot, but like it's a punchy 700, 800 feet. So I did that for as many times as I could. So for me, it was more like the fitness aspect, I don't think is really that different. I mean, you probably don't need to do as much speed work for a trail 50K. But getting acclimated, race-specific training, I think, is important. So if it is a very hilly course with sustained climbs, I think then you want to train for that. I do feel, though, I would like to think that the weight training that I've been doing, even though I haven't really hit the gym in the last month, but the weight training that I've been doing prior to London, I feel like helped me in the climbs, because I feel like that's all quads. And I felt like, I think I feel stronger. Go Running with Olive said, where did you dine out in Issaquah? I ate at a brewery. I ate at 2 different breweries. I don't know if the first place was a brewery. I forget what it was called. I have video footage of it, so I can find it later. But I ate at a place that had a lot of craft beers. I ate at a pizza place, a place that has served more like a Neapolitan style kind of pizza. It wasn't strictly Neapolitan style, but it was more in that style. And then I had breakfast at the Issaquah Cafe. Highly recommend. They have an Impossible sausage eggs Benedict, which is really good. And I ate at the Formula Brewing, which is where like the post-race party was. They had pizza that was really good. The first place that I went to had pretty good pizza. This place had really good pizza. It was amazingly good, actually. Maybe it's because I just ran a 50K, but it tasted really good. So I had a lot of pizza, and what did I eat at the other place? Oh, I had like a veggie sandwich at the other brewery. It was really good, really good. So the food was great. Food in Issaquah was great. D0 Aperture says, though, well, one other person in the chat gives me half a third monitor. D0 Aperture gives me the whole third monitor. I appreciate that. All right. Patrick Odedina says, what's up, Co? Can we get the PR bell? I ran a hometown 5K this past Saturday, and we did. And do we have a first place gong? I saw that, Patrick. I saw you got the podium. Good job on that 5K, getting a PR. And we don't have a gong for hitting the podium, unfortunately, though. But I have been looking into some other machines that I can buy that are going to make some sounds. So we'll have to get some sounds. We'll add gong to the list of sounds. I love it. All right, let me scroll down all the way bottom, catch up with you guys. Matt LeGrand is here. He says, Yoko, what's going on? Hope you had a great trip. I had a lot of fun. I wish it could have been longer. I always have such a good time when I go to the Pacific Northwest, and I never stay long enough. I make that mistake every time. Caleb Ashburn says, did you have any beer the night before the race? I had a couple, because I'm like, it's just a trail 50K. I'm going out there to just have fun and stomp around the woods for a little bit, So I was like, I'm not too worried about that. So I think I had a couple that day. I also got bumped up to first class on the way out there. I was already sitting in my seat on the airplane. I was number 1 on the next for the bump up list for first class. And I was waiting. And then it came time to board, and I still had my regular seat. So I was like, oh, no worries. I still have a really nice seat on this airplane. It'll be fine. And I did have a nice seat. And then like after we're boarding, the flight attendant comes over and is like, Mr. Co? I was like, yes. Like, would you like to sit in first class? I was like, yes, I would. And then in first class, I definitely had a beer too. So I had a couple that day. So it was like the opposite of the way I prepared for London. I ate well. I indulged in some beverages. And I went in completely relaxed. London, I was like, I did not eat well. I refrained from beverages, and I went in super stressed. So, C-Town Fan says, did you get a buckle too? I don't think they give out buckles for 50Ks. I think you got to run 100 miles to get a buckle. I don't know if those are the rules or not, but that's what I always understood. Yeah, Frank agrees. Frank says, I feel like buckles are for 100 miles plus. I think so. Grant Reese says, yo, what's going on, Co? I'm getting into the live, and I'm sure you said about how was the weather during the run. Oh, I haven't mentioned it yet. The weather was warm. It was hot. It was, I did bring like a light jacket. I had a Say Sky jacket. A very thin one that I could pack into the vest really nice, or my running vest, or hydration pack. I wore that in the half hour before the race because I was a little bit chilly, and for maybe the first half hour I wouldn't have minded having some gloves. But then like once I warmed up and once the sun started poking out, then it got hot. And so by the time I went to my second loop, so about halfway into the race on the second loop, you come out of the trees. I don't know what happened there. There's a logging thing or a fire or what, but there's like a spot where like the mountain is bald, and it got so hot I was overheating. And so like by then I think the temperatures, here's what I hate about Strava. Many things, but one is that like when it tells you the temperature for a race, it tells you the temperature at the beginning of the race, and it said that the beginning of the race was 56 degrees, which I feel is probably about right. But by the middle of the race, it was like 80 degrees, and it felt hot in the sun. I mean, it wasn't cooking me, I've run in hotter races before, but it was like you're working hard and you've already been out there for several hours. The heat was definitely a factor. I put ice. I got to the aid station at the top of Loop 2. It's the same aid station, but I got there the second time, and they're like, would you like ice? And I was like, sure. For what? And they're like, you can put it in your hat. And I was like, okay. So I put ice in the hat, and I really like that. That's amazing. That feels so good. You know what's weird? Maybe it's because there's less hair here than there is further in the back. If the ice would shift to the back of my cap and it would get kind of stuck, it would stay back there because I had my man bun sticking out the hat. So it would kind of like pull towards the back of my head at the top. It would just stay there. It wouldn't melt, but it also didn't feel cold. But then if I kind of shimmied the ice up towards my forehead, towards the front, then I felt like, oh man, this ice is cold, and it melted a lot faster. But it was nice. It was good on the dome. So I really liked the ice. And then the last time I went up, was it? I'm trying to remember. I got one aid station. I got just ice in the hat. I think two times I got just ice in the hat. And then one time I had them put ice in my shirt. I tucked it into my half tights, and then I put it in the front and the back. So I had like ice belly. That was really nice too. Ice belly was fun. Let's see. Elisa says, will you run this race again? I don't know. It's so hard. And May is a really tough time for me family wise. And so that's I this weekend, I don't know how I don't even know how I was able to get out this year. But this weekend was my niece's graduation, and that niece is my wife's goddaughter. And it's Mother's Day. So I don't know how I got away from home, but I was able to get away from home. So I don't know if this is something that I can do every year, because I feel like it's always around this time. And the last couple of years, every year that they've had this, I've had a niece or nephew graduating from either high school or college. I don't know if there are any I don't think there's any high school or college graduations next year. But I don't know. It's hard to keep track of. There's so many. It's hard to keep track of them all. And I also missed almost all of my daughter's track season this year. I only saw one meet, I think. Did I see two meets? I think I saw one or two meets. While I was gone, it was sectionals. It was the last race of my daughter's season this year. She had 3 PBs. But, it's just hard. May is really hard because it's like school year ends here, like at the end of May. This year we're going into early June. But like, and so it's hard. It's a hard time of year for me to get away. Richard Wilson says, some 100Ks give buckles. It's just up to the race director. Not many, though. Yeah, there was a time where I used to rock a belt buckle. But, I mean, I don't know. Do people wear their race belt buckles? or is it like a Boston Marathon jacket kind of thing? You only time you wear the belt buckle is when you go to the race in subsequent years. But I don't think a belt buckle would look good on me, even if I had a belt buckle. But I do not have a belt buckle. Oh, okay. AJ says the Black Canyon 100K gives a belt buckle. And he signed up for the 50K in 2025. Ooh, yeah. I still have not. Is there even spots available still for Black Canyon? I have not signed up. I also might be doing something else. We're working on something. Another kind of adventure. I think it might overlap. I'm not sure. Matt says, this is the hottest weekend we had here in the Pacific Northwest. That's toasty for a 50K. I've only run toasty 50Ks because I only have done summer ones. I've done 2 now. This one was warm, and then the other one I did was the Crater Trail 50K. I feel like that one was hotter. There was just more time exposed in the sun, and I think it was also in a warmer month. It was in a summer month for sure. So I only know hot ones. And at that other one, I don't think they had ice. Or maybe they did, but I didn't know to ask for it. So I think from now on, I'm team ice all the way. And everyone was saying, you know what? I was amazed by how many other people were using the trails other than just the race. And I mentioned that to like a lot of people. And I'm like, man, there's so many people using trails here. This is amazing. Old people, young people, families, kids, friends, like people, all walks of life, people are using these trails. I'm like, that's amazing. And they're like, it is the first nice weekend we've had. And I'm like, oh, okay. But still, even then, it's still a lot of people. Oh, Brian says, maybe that's what the hats with all the extra volume we talked about last week is for. Ice? Maybe. So like this race wasn't the kind of race where like, the nice thing, what's a saving grace for this race is that, well, it rhymes, is that like, there's a lot of tree cover. So for a lot of the race, I was in the woods. And so like, even though it was warm, the sun wasn't beating down on me. So I felt like if it had been something where I'm in the sun a lot more, then it would have been like, should I have brought a bucket hat? Should I have brought a Legionnaire hat? Someone had a shirt like that. So this is like one of those sun shirts. Someone was wearing one of those, and I was like, oh, that's thinking. I should have done that. And she had like the hood up and like the long sleeves, and it was white. And I was like, she's coming down from the top aid station where it's just super sunny. And I was like, oh, see, that person knows what's up. That person knows what they're doing. Morgan, the running guy, says, hey, all, good to catch a live stream live today. Great job, Co, on Tiger Claw, and great job to everyone who also ran this weekend. Thank you so much. Matt said, did the ice scratch your belly? I've had that issue in triathlon before. It's hard to explain to the wife. Let me see. I don't think there's any scratches on the belly, but it definitely hurt. It felt like I was getting an ice burn parts of the time, but I'm like, I don't care. I want this ice. So I was having a good time with the ice being really cold. All right. A lot of people have been asking about the boot mug. So these are, my wife and I collect these. They're the Christmas market mugs that they have in Chicago. So normally these are filled with spiced wine. And normally my wife and I will put 2 aside every year. You buy the wine and it comes with a mug. And then that day you can either buy more mugs or you can just have your mug refilled. And sometimes you end up going a bunch of times, and then so you end up getting a bunch of mugs over the course of a winter. And we have a set that we put away and we only bring out when it's like Christmas decoration time in the house. But then we have others that are like, if we break these, I got a whole bunch others. So the new coffee machine that I bought for my wife makes nice coffees, and they fit in the mugs a lot better. I've brought these mugs down before. I don't know if I ever brought a boot down before, but that's what these are. And everyone knows in Chicago that the best Chris Kindle Market mugs are the boot mugs. They don't always do boots. One year they did a heart-shaped one, and that one was really nice. And I wish they would do that again, although I'd rather take a boot any year than even the heart. But that's what this mug is. Frank says there should be a race that gives out a boxing wrestling style buckle to the winner. You wear it like a saddle, you know? Oh, that's so funny. And Sean Devlin says, I'd love to hear the whining over a Bank of America Western States belt buckle. People would revolt. I don't know. People would still line up to get that belt buckle. All right. AJ says that the Black Canyon's still open, but I have to hurry up. Okay. I have a meeting with the manager tomorrow. We'll make some decisions. And Alf says, I got to make it up to my daughter and take her to Cornerstone Lakes Park Run for some 5K action. It's 45 minutes south of Crystal Lake. It is? Oh. I think we are going to do, there's a 5K north of here about a little bit. We did it last year as a family. I tried to pace my daughter to a 30-minute 5K, and we were off by 2 seconds in the wrong direction. That was my fault. But my younger daughter also did the kids dash. She had a lot of fun doing that. So I think we're going to do that one again. But I'm going to try to run this one fast this time. And she's a lot faster now, too. I think she could probably run. I think she could probably run 26, 25. Which is a big jump. I mean, it depends. She like by the time we get to that race, it's a long time away from track season. So she's not like in race shape. But we can definitely get under 30 this year. So I think I'm going to do that one. And then I might do another. I'm going to try to do a 10K race. I'm still debating whether or not to do I'd like to do the USATF Masters Championships again. But it's in Sacramento. And so it's just far, you know. If it was something like the one in Iowa was in Iowa. I stayed at my in-laws' house and then I drove over just the day of. So that's a less of a commitment to do this meet. I'd have to fly to Sacramento in July. So I don't know if I'll do that. But this year they're doing an 800 meter and I think a 1500 meter. And I've never run a 1500 meter. So it'd be a guaranteed PB. But we'll see if we do that. But this park run, Cornerstone Lakes Park Run. All right, we'll have to. I'll check it out. Lee's here. What's going on, Lee? He's late to the party from Wales, UK. Great to have you here. Peter Scott says, need to come to Scotland and do the West Highland Way Ultra, second oldest in the world. 95-mile race with only 14,760 feet of ascent. No way. I would not finish. I'm flattered that you would think I could do that, though. JJ and Sienna says, I'm not sure how is your trail runner following, but do people recognize you? Just wondering if it was different for you than a road marathon. It was very different. I mean, it's a smaller race. And I was having a conversation with someone about it, too, because they're like, do people recognize you here? Because like a handful of people did. But a lot of people don't. And I'm like, well, I don't mind. It's because it makes sense. I just don't do a lot of trail content. And this year I've done almost none. And so it makes sense that people, if they're only into trails, that the algorithm is not going to feed me to you, you know? And so there's less kind of like interaction with other runners that way. But also it's a small race. And so I feel like, you know, when I just did like the 10-mile race last Halloween around here, I got messages later of people saying like, hey, I saw you at the race. Good job. You know, I want to say hi, but it was like really quiet and looked like you were focusing on getting ready for the race. You know, so it's like, it's so small that people are like, oh, I don't want to bother them. So I get like kind of that, but I just don't think that many people knew who I was. But that's okay. That's pretty normal for me when I do a trail race. All right, Brandon Palmer says, I'm hoping to run a sub 23 5K this weekend, but weather may hamper that. Flat course, could maybe run a sub 22. All right, well, good luck, Brandon. What's the weather like that's going to hamper? Is it going to be too hot or rainy? I feel like heat doesn't, I mean, heat matters for a 5K, but not as much. So I feel like that's why I feel like, well, it's one of the reasons why there's so many 5Ks in the summer. But I think as long as it's not like wind, I think it'll be all right. Oh, Sega Dreamcast says, are you going to happen to be at grandma's this year? Marathon number 1 for me. I don't currently have plans to be at grandma's. I actually think I'm going to be somewhere else. I have to look at my calendar. There's some stuff we need to finalize, but I think I'm going to be somewhere else that weekend, unfortunately. Brian Albrecht says, Tracksmith has a Twilight 5000 in Chicago. I was looking at that because I'm trying to put together some like dates for Sage and Sandy to help put together some 5K training for me. And I was like, well, maybe I'll do the second. Maybe I'll do the first one as kind of a baseline, and this because I usually do 2 in each city. But I didn't see info. Do you have info, Brian, on that? You have to let me know. And Alex wants to know if I'm going to do Falmouth. I don't think, it's been a while now since I run Falmouth. And that is one of my favorite races. Especially if you can go with ASICs, because they rent out a restaurant like right by the finish line, and it's a lot of fun. It's a great day. You get up early, you get to the race, run a hot 7.5 miles or so, and then there's a nice fiesta afterwards. And then last time I went, we jumped in the ocean too, which was nice. Water was perfect temperature for it. But I think it's going to be very close to the Olympics. Or it might even overlap with what I'm going to be at the Olympics. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to go this year. And Seatown Fan says, Shoreline has track meets during the summer. You should come out for that, Co. Shoreline? All right. And Alf says, reminder, Park Run isn't a race. Think of it as a weekly time trial that you can get community children. You can get community child care for. Sorry, I couldn't read that. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I should just go out one weekend. Yeah, I think my daughter might be into that. We'll see if I can get her to go. Oh, Brandon says it's going to be hot and humid for his race. Okay. Well, don't overcook yourself, but have fun out there. It's 5K. You can do it. And Brandon says, any heat impacts me terribly. Even a few weeks ago at the Go St. Louis half, I was sweaty within the first half mile and wiping sweat from my head and face. Oh, I hear you, Brandon. I'm that way too. Like I just wilt. I feel like visually that's like the best way to explain how heat affects me. So I know what you mean. And Eric says, I thought Chicago was going to be easy running with all the oxygen, not being at altitude. He said, but that humidity, just, yeah. And C-Town Fan says, are you going to the Olympic Trials, Co? I think I'm going to be in Eugene for at least a night. I'm trying to extend that trip a little bit. Try to stay for a little bit longer. We'll see about that. More things that I need to finalize. But I think I should be there for a little bit. So if anyone wants to go for a run, I don't know how much brand support there'll be for a run, but I should be in 5K training at that point. So I'll be training for something. So I'll need to get some runs in. So hopefully we can get together and do that if anyone else is going to be there. Mike Penner says, hi, Mike, late to the chat. Did you enjoy Tiger Claw and would you do it again? I would do it again if it could fit it into my calendar. But that fitting it into the calendar is almost as difficult as the race. And the race was hard, but just the timing of it in the year is really difficult for me. And so that's the only thing that would hold me back from like committing like, oh yeah, I can do this every year. But it is a lot of fun. And I would probably, if I were to do it again, I would probably stay at the same hotel, that Hilton Garden Inn, because it's walking distance from that brewery. So that could be real nice too, you know. Let's see what else we got here. Jason Horner says, "What's your post-run nutrition and routine like? Trying to improve my recovery while increasing mileage." These days, generally speaking, if it's a really big workout, I'll try to drink some sort of protein drink on the way home, and that's when I'll use a shake, because then you can just have the water separate from the powder, and then just put it in after your run is done. But most other days, I will just wait till I get home, and if I can't eat something right away, I'll just try to grab a glass of chocolate milk. I'll put some chocolate syrup in some milk, and I feel like it's kind of like a 2-to-1 carbs to protein ratio. It's filling, it's tasty if you drink milk, and so that's usually what I like, and I feel like that gives me a nice little bump. And since I got kids in the house, we always have milk, so yeah. So that's normally what I like to do. I'm pretty bad at taking care of myself food wise otherwise. So I just kind of try to remember to make myself eat. And frankly, like, because I'm bad at it and I get busy during the day, a lot of the times I'm relying on kind of like fake meat substitutes, like either like Morningstar, like the fake chicken patties, or like fake like veggie dogs. A lot of times I'll have ramen noodles with like rice and an egg in it, so it's filling, but it's not like the best nutritionally, but it's fast. In the summer times, I'll have a lot of tomato sandwiches, tomatoes, salt, pepper, mayonnaise, mustard, cheese on toasted bread. I'll have a couple of those. That's really tasty. Not a lot of protein in those though, so I need to probably work on it a little bit. There's room for improvement for sure, but I try to never, like, I don't do a lot of glycogen depletion runs or anything like that. I try not to get too depleted during any run. Like, so that's why I'm like, if it's close, eat a gel. It costs a couple bucks, you know. I'd rather come in with a tank a little bit too full than too empty. So I feel like for me, recovery starts a lot of times, since most of my runs are easy runs, recovering from those runs starts kind of during the run a lot. So that's my thoughts on it. Matt says he might be around for the trials. All right. Well, if you're around, we'll have to definitely get together. We'll have to get some pizza or something, Matt. That'll be fun. Seatown Fans is going to be there 6/27. Let me take a look at my calendar real quick. What days am I going to be in town? I think I'm going to be there towards the end of it. No, I think I'm going to be there before that. I think I'm over there over the weekend. I think I'm going to be there on the 22nd. So I might miss you. Devin Patterson says, "Oh man, I wish I'd have gotten you to go running with me and my pups when you were out here doing Tiger Claw. There was a lot of, I wish I could have done that too. Because look at these dogs. Look at these dogs in this picture. But there was a lot of dogs on the trail. I wanted to stop and pet them all. None of them were that interested in me. I was surprised. I'm like, normally there's something about me that dogs usually like to say hi. But I just think a lot of them were off leash, but they were all well behaved. So I'm guessing that they're used to ignoring other people. So I'm not going to take it personally. Martha says, are you definitely not going to CIM this year, or is it still possible? It's still possible. I'm not planning on running it this year. It's possible, but I would say it's more in the less than 50-50. I think the only way that I would go is if I were to go like, and I think we're supposed to have some discussions soon, but like if I could go and do something with Rabbit, because I feel like, well, Rabbit's they have always treated me very well. especially in California. And if they wanted to do something, maybe we could do something, but I don't know. The main reason that I'm like not sure about it is twofold. One is that the Olympic window, the OTQ window isn't open. And so like there isn't that story of like the chasing that time. And then the other reason is this year, the running event is before Thanksgiving. So if I don't go to CIM, that means like that whole week after Thanksgiving, I could be home. And a lot of Christmas stuff happens like right after Thanksgiving. So it's another like family thing. I'm already like gone a lot. I was gone for like almost a month. So like I feel like I need to chill a little bit. But we'll see. I have a feeling like as soon as it gets closer, I'll be like, yeah, let's go. So, but I'd say realistically, it's less than 50-50. William Wang says, would you recommend tunnel marathon for a fast marathon time? I would say absolutely. There's some asterisks to that. You know, like some people don't want to have a downhill race as their marathon PR and would feel weird about that. And also some people don't do well running downhill. I like to think that I'm a pretty good downhill runner. After Tiger Claw, I realized that I'm average as a downhill runner. But I feel like I handle downhill overall pretty well. Some people don't. It really hurts them and messes up their hips, and their quads, but I feel like I handle it pretty well. And so, a downhill marathon is well suited for me. But I really enjoyed that race, and I had a good time doing it. And I think you stay in Issaquah. A lot of people have stayed at the same hotel that I stayed in for the Tiger Claw. You would stay in that same hotel, or you could stay in that same hotel and eat at the same places that I ate at, for the tunnel, right at the end of the tunnel marathon. All right. Oh man. All right. You know what? I figured out why the camera goes out like that. This camera, I switched it over to 4K setting and it overheats even if I'm just streaming on it and I'm not recording. So that's what's going on. And I already had a long call earlier today, so the camera was warm before I started. So it's also a good signal to remind me like it's time to go. But we'll do this last question. Grant Reese says, last minute run question. Looking to replace my Mach 5 suggestions, Mach 6 and Nova Blast 4, all that I've looked at so far. I would also consider looking at the Rebel 4. That's another one that I would look at too, but otherwise those are the kind of three that I would have you look at. All right, guys. That's going to be it for today. Tomorrow we'll do an unboxing. I got some packages I got to go pick up. I have no idea what they are. We'll see what they are together. We'll do a live stream. Until I see you then. Be safe out there, everybody. Thanks. Bye.